It starts with a phone call at 2 a.m. in East Texas, or a game camera image that makes a wildlife biologist zoom in and swear under his breath. A boar standing in a cornfield, shoulders higher than the feeder it just destroyed. Another report from southern Missouri, a truck damaged beyond repair after hitting something that walked away. In the comments under every trail cam video, the same refrain appears: "That can't be real." Then, someone posts the ruler they held next to the track. The ruler looks small. These are not the famous cases from 20 years ago. These are newer reports, scattered across states where feral hogs were barely established a generation earlier. The animals are not just present. They are pushing against the upper limits of what anyone expected a wild pig to become. The question the title forces us to ask is not whether they are getting bigger. It is why the biggest ones keep appearing in places and at sizes that still feel impossible even after the genetic explanation has been on the table for years. Wild pigs were once considered a southern problem. By the mid-2010s, the maps had already shifted. Today, they are documented in at least 35 states, with established populations pushing into the Midwest, the Great Plains fringes, and even parts of the Northeast. The expansion is not a slow creep. It is a series of leaps new counties lighting up on state agency maps every year. What changed alongside the geography is the floor of the size reports. Hunters and trappers who have worked the same counties for 15 or 20 years describe a steady rise in the average weight of the animals they encounter. The truly exceptional ones, the ones that require multiple people to load or that destroy heavy corral traps, are no longer once-in-a-decade events in some regions. They have become the upper end of a distribution that itself is drifting higher. Parallel stories appear in Canada. Animals released or escaped in the 1990s and early 2000s survived winters that were supposed to cull them. The largest individuals captured in recent Saskatchewan and Manitoba studies are not just surviving. They are carrying the body mass and skeletal structure that allows them to push farther north than earlier models predicted. The same pattern, larger bodies, wider range, shows up on both sides of the border. This is not the story of a single legendary animal. It is the story of a continental population whose size distribution is moving. The question is no longer can they get this big. It is why does the ceiling keep rising, and why do we still struggle to document the new ceiling when it appears? The United States did not set out to create perfect habitat for giant pigs. It simply removed almost every check that once existed. The large predators that could have taken grown boars, eastern mountain lions, red wolves, jaguars are gone from most of the landscape. What remains are smaller mesopredators that target piglets, not the adults that have already reached 300 or 400 pounds. An animal that survives its first 2 years faces very little pressure to stay small. At the same time, the food base exploded. Modern agriculture leaves waste grain, spilled corn, and high-calorie cover crops across millions of acres. Suburban and exurban development creates another reliable subsidy: bird feeders, unsecured trash, pet food left on porches, even the deliberate feeding of deer that spills over to pigs. In the South, the massed years of oak and hickory still occur, but they are now supplemented by year-round calories that did not exist at this scale when pigs first arrived. The climate helps. Milder winters in the expanding northern fringe reduce the energetic cost of staying large. A 600-pound animal that would have starved or frozen in harsher conditions 50 years ago can now maintain that mass and still breed. The landscape is not neutral. It is actively subsidizing the very traits, large body size, high reproductive output, that make the population harder to control. Every new county colonized adds another patch of this permissive environment. The pigs are not invading a static map. They are moving across a map that keeps getting more hospitable to large, fast-breeding omnivores. The capacity for extreme size was never missing from the species. It was simply not expressed in the wild at this scale. Domestic breeds have demonstrated the upper end for decades. Poland, China, Yorkshire, and other commercial lines routinely produce individuals well over 1,000 pounds under intensive conditions. Those genetics did not disappear when domestic stock mixed with wild boar. They traveled with the escaped or released animals that founded many of today's feral populations. European wild boar brought different advantages: longer legs for covering ground, denser coats for thermal regulation, larger skulls and heavier muscle that help in fights and in rooting through hard ground. When the two lineages cross, the offspring do not simply average the traits. They often express hybrid vigor, larger overall size, faster early growth, and the ability to maintain condition across a wider range of conditions than either parent lineage alone. In the wild, this combination is released from the constraints that kept domestic pigs in feedlots and wild boar in predator-rich forests. A hybrid boar that reaches sexual maturity at 6 months can already be putting on serious mass. If it survives its first winter, it enters a landscape with almost no adult mortality pressure. It can keep growing for years. 10-year-old individuals are documented in both domestic and feral settings, without significant predation or harvest pressure on the largest animals. Those old boars become the new normal upper tail of the distribution. Natural selection in this environment does not favor the small, quick-to-hide strategy that works against wolves or mountain lions. It favors the animal that can dominate resources, win fights for breeding access, and still produce large litters. The genome already contained the instructions. The American landscape simply removed the penalties for expressing them at full scale. Even with the mechanism understood, the extreme upper end remains difficult to document in peer-reviewed form. The reasons are practical and structural. Feral pigs are largely nocturnal in areas with human pressure. The largest, oldest boars are often solitary and extremely trap-shy. They learn to avoid corral traps that catch sounders. When they are killed by hunters, trappers, or vehicle collision, the window for measurement is measured in hours. In southern heat, a carcass can begin to bloat and degrade before it reaches a scale that can handle the weight. Many of the largest animals are field-dressed or butchered on site, especially on private land where the focus is removal, not research. Research protocols themselves contribute to the gap. Genetic studies rely on ear clips and hair samples that can be collected from live trapped or road-killed animals. Those samples reveal ancestry and population structure, but carry no body mass data. Aerial surveys and camera grids estimate abundance and distribution. They do not weigh individuals. The animals that would give us the new size records are precisely the ones least likely to enter the data pipeline. This is not a conspiracy of silence. It is the geometry of studying a large, secretive, fast-decomposing animal across a continent-sized range. The absence of a peer-reviewed 1,200-pound wild hog in a journal does not mean the upper tail has stopped moving. It means the measurement system was never designed to catch the extreme end of a rapidly shifting distribution. We now have a coherent explanation for why wild hogs in America are reaching sizes that once seemed impossible. Hybridization unlocked genetic potential that already existed. A landscape engineered for agriculture and stripped of large predators removed the historical breaks. Short generation times and high reproductive output turned that release into rapid, observable change across decades rather than centuries. Yet the title's second claim, "and no one can explain it," still carries weight. The mechanism tells us why larger animals are possible. It does not fully predict how far or how fast the upper limit will continue to move as new populations establish in new climates, as agricultural subsidies change, or as harvest pressure varies by state and landowner. The northern front is still young. The animals there have not yet experienced the full range of selection pressures that southern populations have faced for generations. What happens to maximum size when those northern pigs have another 20 or 30 years of relaxed selection remains an open question. The same uncertainty applies to the human side. Hunting removes hundreds of thousands of pigs each year, but the largest individuals are often the hardest to target consistently. Land access, hunter skill, and the economics of processing very large carcasses all shape which animals actually leave the population. In some areas, the biggest boars may be effectively protected by nothing more than the difficulty of finding and killing them. The result is a population whose size distribution is still in motion. We can explain why it started moving. We cannot yet say with precision where it will stabilize, or whether it will stabilize at all within the time frame of a single human career. Somewhere tonight, in a bottomland thicket or a Midwest woodlot or the edge of a northern prairie, an animal is adding another pound of mass that no researcher will weigh. It is not a singular monster. It is one more data point in a distribution whose ceiling has not yet been tested to its limit. The explanation exists. The full scale of what that explanation has set in motion is still revealing itself.